All right, so there may be a possibility that your house is facing foreclosure. We know that we're coming off one of the most unprecedented times in our history when in the past there were a lot of uh, forgiving or forbearances when it comes to folks who found themselves underwater or facing pre-foreclosure or foreclosure with their property across the United States. And those things were put in place particularly for the challenges we've had in the, with the epidemic and things of that nature the past several years. But now things are coming to a point where we have a huge amount of people who are facing foreclosure because those bills and those things are coming up, or it just in life happens, and sometimes people may find catch themselves behind on taxes or behind on that mortgage payment. I'm Courtney Rollins. I'm the Life and Transitions property expert here with the Life and Transitions Experts YouTube channel. I'm the host. I'm also the owner and operator of Estate Pro Service, where I generally help people who are going through some big transition in their life, help them come up with solutions to their property. I wear many hats, but it really all depends on what your situation is or what that person's situation is. And I put content out here to help people through those big changes and challenges, and usually through probate and estate planning. But foreclosure is definitely one of those challenges that people may face that they're wondering, okay, how do I get out of this? And if they're looking to sell, they may be wondering, how do I sell my property quickly? I'm in Durham, North Carolina, so we're going to talk about Durham, North Carolina, but this applies across the board in many places. Now, disclaimer: I'm not an attorney or giving financial advice. I'm giving my opinion and my from my experience as a cash buyer, as someone who's helped people list properties, as someone who's helped people actually keep properties and avoid foreclosure. But today we're specifically talking about if you think that selling it is a viable solution for you. And here are 5 ways to sell it pretty quickly. One, should be pretty known. Sell to a cash buyer, someone who doesn't have to go to get a loan or have a traditional lending entity or partner. Cash buyer may get their money from private investors or from a professional investors, like hard money investors, some call them. But those are still all case for all intents and purposes cash buyers because they don't go through the same scrutiny that another lending product would provide. So finding a cash buyer is awesome. State Pro Services, as I said, that's one of the hats that I wear when those property fit our criteria and it makes sense for the sellers. So selling to a cash buyer is an awesome viable option. Make sure you vet that buyer. Make sure that you know that they can trust it. Make sure that they have their funds or that they have access to funds. But it's an awesome solution because you can sell it pretty quickly when there's no extra paperwork required. You may also consider a short sale. They were very popular many years ago. A short sale is when the lender actually agrees, okay, we're going to sell this property for less than what is owed. So let's say there's $300,000 left on the mortgage. Well, if you go through the short sale process, and let me know if you need to connect to a short sale specialist. I have a few that I'm connected to on my team that can really help you. The lender may agree, okay, we'll sell it for 250 or $150,000 or something lower than the mortgage. There's definitely stipulations and stuff that it has to go through to be able to do that, but it is definitely possible. So you may need to consider selling a short sale. It will impact your credit in a different way. Um, there's still an opportunity or a chance that it will impact your credit in an adverse way, but it would not be the same as having a foreclosure on your credit. So this is an option many people have decided to go through based on just their situation. So if you want to learn more about short sales, reach out to me and I can share that information with you, or go do some due diligence and research, and hopefully it'll be a tool in your tool belt that you may find useful. Working with a real estate investor now, that cash buyer is usually going to be a real estate investor for number one, but there could be some differences. A real estate investor is certainly going to know, should know how to take on properties that quite often may need some work, quite often may need some support or some help. That's how they get their properties at a discount because the real estate investor, it isn't adage, but it's true. You make your money on the buy. And the only way that an investor or someone like me can even earn the right to make that money is if we're able to solve problems. And someone with a foreclosure with possibly a bad tenant or possibly a lot of damages to the property or possibly they're facing just a time constraint. That's where the investor is going to be able to step in, and they're hedging their investment based on their experience and based on their ability to take the property as is and use it for cash. And there's also opportunities because of real estate investors' uh, experience to be able to utilize some creative buying solutions, creative financing solutions to buy the property and solve everyone's challenge or problem. So just like a cash buyer, which could be the same as a real estate investor, you want to make sure they're vetted, make sure you check them out, make sure they have a good reputation, see what other people they've worked with before, and see the services they provide, and that may be a great solution for you. A cash for keys agreement. There are times when the lender will actually be able to take the keys for the property and be able to waive the this is not the same as foreclosing on it, but they may be able to give you incentive to just vacate the property, particularly if this is owned by a hard money lender or someone. They may actually just take it on and not foreclose on you and give you the opportunity to save your credit, but they end up taking the product. Now, this is not doesn't happen as often because most lenders aren't trying to be in the real estate business; they're in the lending business. But just wanted to put that option up there for you. And also, there, without getting too deep into the weeds of what some of them is called, there could be perhaps you could take this property and either sell it to an investor or sell it to an end buyer that wants to live in the property or take it as an investment. And you could, there's a lot of different terms. They mean sometimes different things, but you could have it rent to own. You could do a lease option. Someone could come in and actually take over your payments, get you back into good standing, and leave the property in your the property, but the loan in your name, but take over your monthly payments. So you don't have the burden of take over the payments. The loan stays in your name, so you definitely need to make sure you have a vetted, trusted person that you're working with. But they take over the deed, and now they're responsible for the taxes and insurance. Now, if it's a rent to own, it's a little different, and the nuances do count. So there are differences there, so you want to make sure you know those differences. Basically, a rent to own lease option, you keep the property until they actually exercise their option to purchase it. A subject to or taking over the property, or even seller finance, uh, had that person takes over the deed. They actually the title of the property goes to them, and quite often, well, subject to the loan stays in your name. You may ask, why would someone want to do that? Well, they're facing foreclosure and they're not able to pay those monthly bills or have the risk of their their credit being uh, um, challenged. Finding a real estate investor who's using this strategy as their business model can be very helpful to them because now they have their property getting being paid every month, is improving their credit. They don't have the burden of the monthly payment, and yeah, they don't have the burden of facing the challenge or the hit they will take on their credit. And the investor obviously usually comes in at a discounted price and is able to provide a space for someone and satisfy the needs of the original seller. So there are many reasons people do subject to, but again, those nuances subject to seller finance or rent to own lease options with their different nuances, they're all bottom line are to help really everyone involved, but particularly the seller who may be facing foreclosure. If you want to talk more about any of those options, even if I'm not the end buyer for you, would love to help support you. We really try to take a hard head, hands-on approach as a state pro service and make sure we're listening with big ears. I got big ears here, and really try to fit your needs and give you as many options from our experience as possible to help you along the way. You can reach out at Courtney at estateproservice.com or 919-341-1992. Now, if you are someone who's interested in in being on this program, perhaps you're a real estate investor yourself, or maybe you're in care management, or maybe you are a landlord, or you've worked with people who are going through some of their biggest transitions. Would love to interview you. So reach out to me. That's one of my favorite things to do. We do about once or twice a week and try to put that content out there to meet the needs of people who are out there. I would love for you also to hit that like, subscribe, all that good stuff that the algorithm likes to know that, hey, this person or this content is valuable to people. And I really appreciate the great, awesome feedback that we've been getting. It feels good to be able to help people. And we want to keep doing that. So you can help us help more people by subscribing, leaving a comment, and leaving a rating, even if you're listening to this on the podcast. If you listen to it, go check us out on the YouTube channel as well. Life and Transitions Experts channel. That's LITE. Let your light shine. Cheers.